Okay, we're recording. I'll put the timer once you do your intro.
Is this thing recording? Is this thing on?
Alright. Ready? You ready?
Yep.
Good. Alright. So, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Shift Chats, conversation with Tia Cannon. Designing a purpose-driven life, aligning business and personal goals. Have you ever felt like you're constantly chasing success, only to realize it's not giving you the fulfillment you expected? Picture this: a marathon runner who crosses the finish line only to find out it's not the race they signed up for. In life, we often chase goals that don't align with our true purpose. But what if we could design a life where personal fulfillment and business success walk hand in hand? Today, we're diving deep into how aligning your purpose with your business goals can bring balance, passion, and true satisfaction. So here's my question for you. Are you chasing the right finish line? Let's explore how to shift from merely surviving to thriving with my guest, Tia Cannon. Remember, the shift is happening now. Welcome to Shift Chats. I'm your host, Clarendria Addison, author, therapist, and your guide on this journey of healing, entrepreneurship, wellness, and all the things. Today, we have Miss Tia Cannon, entrepreneur, real estate guru,
Yep.
mom.
Heavy on the mom.
Heavy on the mom. We're definitely going to get into it. And what else would you like to share about who Tia Cannon is?
I think that's it. I think you hit it.
Okay. So I always start out with this first question, and people are always like, what? Why do you need a... So I asked you to send me a picture. So the question is, what would Tia say to little Tia?
Oh, that's why you needed a little Tia photo.
What would you say to little Tia?
I would just say, stop caring. Like, don't care what other people think. Nothing's going to matter 10 years from now. Mm-hmm. What matters to you now is not going to matter. Those friends aren't going to matter. Like,
right.
Just don't care.
I like that.
But I think, for the most part, I've always been like, just like relentless, like the same quality traits. But I think that for me, just worrying about what other people think has always been a thing. So I think I would just tell little Tia that, like, you can do and be whatever you want,
right,
despite what anybody says.
Right.
So
I love that. So when I think about your response to that question, can you tell me a little bit about where you are with that now? Because it sounds like little Tia maybe was a little concerned and cared, right, about what people thought. So tell me kind of that journey of where you are. And I think
for the most part, I probably still do a little bit, which is why that was probably the first thing that came to mind. But I think now it's more so like I understand boundaries with people, right? Like, I always, at a young age, and it might sound crazy, but I always felt like it was like I was stronger than most people, even most people my age, and I could handle more, I could do more, I was more just equipped to deal with any and everything that somebody could do, right? So I think now, though, I'm able to understand more boundaries around it.
Right. Because boundaries are important.
Super.
I think that's a Pisces thing.
With boundaries?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah. Because I just got into boundaries like probably in the last 10 years. Like after my divorce in 2014.
Yeah.
I feel like it was awakening. Like I talk about that in the book, like being in this coma and like not... like being present, but not really being present. Right. And when I look back on so many things, I was like, oh my God, girl, you was like not even awake. And I'm not talking about like woke. Like I just was like kind of you described like going through the motions. I got to get this done. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. You know, like going through all of these things.
No, yeah, that's fair. I think the same thing for me too, a little bit. But I think that because we're such empaths too, we be knowing anyway. Like we just know. That's like a Pisces thing. We just know.
Absolutely.
But I was just telling somebody the other day, I said, I've been setting boundaries with everybody, and it's so much harder to set boundaries than it is to just fall back. Because I'm used to just falling back and being like, I'll let you later.
Yes.
But to be able to set boundaries and then send somebody a text like, hey, what are you doing today? But people don't receive that well from me because they're used to me giving them my all, right? And so they think it's like acting funny or doing this or doing that, and it's like, no, I'm just setting boundaries with you, and that's okay. But how's your day going? Right. And so being intentional about not falling back versus actually setting those boundaries is harder. It's so much harder.
I love that for you. And I love that because that process, it does, and I think I've talked about that a little bit, like in posting and other things that I've been doing. That process of setting boundaries, I feel like that's 101. Like I think I said, vulnerability is kind of the start of the process. But when you get to setting boundaries, people really have to like step back and be like, oh, I'm not going to be able to.
And they can't handle it. I promise you they can't handle it.
From you. Not from,
No.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like the devil to these people right now. Like the devil. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But what made me really, really try to focus and hone in on it is because I felt stagnant. One, I felt like I was putting too much energy into other places and people. Two, and three, watching Alea now that she's transitioning, like she's in 8th grade. She'll be in high school.
Wow.
But watching her navigate her friend groups and friendships and seeing some of those same qualities and traits of like people pleasing and like just worrying about what other people think and being she's so far advanced, not just mentally, but emotionally, everything than her peers. And I'm not just saying that because she's my daughter, but she's very bright in that regard. Like I tell her all the time, like, you are not average. You can't do or think like that because you just don't. She don't. But she's constantly like dimming her light because of the kids that she's surrounding herself with.
Right.
And I'm trying to explain to her, like, it's cool you can have this group, but you don't have to dim your light or allow them to encourage you to do things that you normally don't do to fit in.
Right.
So that's one of the bigger things. So she can see me set boundaries with people and things that don't align with who I am or where I'm going. Versus just being like, oh, you cool. You can come to the cookout or you can come here. But being very intentional, like, no, if I'm doing this with you, we got to do it this way. Or if you're going to come here, you cannot smoke, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, whatever. Yeah.
And that's huge. And the kudos to parenting in the 2000s. Kudos to that, because that can be, but to your point about modeling right for your children, I think that's a huge thing, because sometimes I think the experiences that they have, it's kind of like now that you've gone through it, to see them go through it, it's like, oh my God, how do I help them navigate this?
Yep.
So supporting and encouraging that, and being the model, like being in practice and giving an example, like you said, if you're telling somebody and you're setting this boundary, to go back and be like, okay, did you see just what just happened? This is how you need to, be examples, so that because your people will align with you. And that's one of the things that I, again, am learning in the last few years. Like, everybody is not for everybody. All the people not going, you know what I'm saying? But your people will attract to you once you start saying no.
They do.
Period.
They do. And I've never had like a girl group, like a friend group. Like I've had like one or two friends that we have our little group, but then there's other acquaintances or other friends, but not like a tribe.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as of lately though, I've been developing like a tribe, and it feels so much more different than everything else. But the other people though that I'm setting boundaries with, they're not aligning. Whereas like some of the women in my tribe are like, no, that totally makes sense. How can I support you in this space? What do you need help with? How can we juggle this or that? Or,
Right.
you know, even one of my friends, we switched off weekends. Like my kids went to her house, and then the following, you know, we switched, and she sent me money for her kids for food. And I'm like, she was like, no, we're moms. Like we're going to split the cost. And it's funny because I seen on like TikTok, it was a viral like video going around where this mom sent another mom a message like, hey, I spent this is how much the snacks were. This is how much the Capri Suns were. This is how much the fruit snacks were.
Wow.
And the other mom sent her the money, but was like mad about it. And she was like, I'm just tired of footing the bill for play dates. Like it's expensive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? I never had any conversations with anybody. I'm just like, if they're with me, then I'm just going to pay for it. And that's just what it is. But sometimes it can get pricey.
Oh, yeah.
It can get real pricey. So it's like when I tell Leia, like, if you're going to have friends over, like, we got to figure this out. Because by that time, I'm ordering pizzas. If I'm buying you something, I got to buy them something. If we go to Target, I got to get them something too.
Right.
Like, just because that's how I am. But I'm not going to take a kid to Target and buy my kids something and not get them nothing. But it can get expensive. Like, play dates can get pricey. Especially, like, my kids like to go to Bari. And, like, Leia just bought some Dolce & Gabbana mascara. And it's like, you know.
Right.
You know, hey, it's just, it was, like, shocking that she just sent it, right?
Right.
And then she sent extra on top of what I told her that I spent. But it made me reference just that TikTok that I seen, like, even just certain things like that. Like, that mom was upset, but a mom like me is like, no, I totally get that, right? So aligning when those boundaries are being set. Like, okay, then our kids, we not going to think the same way. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And being able to really communicate that early on, you know, exactly what you're describing, especially like when you're making new relationships, friendships, acquaintances, however you want to describe it. So to your point about when you have these new kind of relationships, right, and friendships where as a parent, how do you navigate that, right? Because it is kind of, you know, there's an assumption, right? Oh, I'm sending my kids here, but the world is so different now. You know what I'm saying?
Because my mom was like, you just be sending your kids everywhere or whatever. But it's like, this group that I have now, like these couple women that I have now, like, you know, we've engaged, we've been to each other's homes, we spent time with one another, and our thoughts align, our goals, the way we raise our children align. Like, everything aligns. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not no like, oh, you can go over there for a couple hours, but you can't spend a night, or, you know, just different stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to being like-minded. Like, we hear that a lot when we're younger, like, but I don't think we understand, like, what that really means. Like, sometimes Alea's like, well, you just think because, like, what was the reference she made? I can't remember exactly, but I'm telling her, like, some things, I understand you want to be friends with everybody, but because this is going on social media, I'm trying to be mindful of what I say. But there's friends that might be on a picture and the house may look a certain way from a cleanliness standpoint, or, you know, they might be sitting on a counter in the bathroom with like undergarments on, and I'm like, I understand she may be nice, but y'all on two completely different type of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like your own mother doesn't sit on the counter in undergarments and take pictures and put them on social media. So why would you think being friends in that regard with a kid, a 13-year-old, like that would be okay? Like grown women don't do that.
Yeah. And I feel like there has to be some level of like communication as it relates to, like, I almost feel like there needs to be a class on etiquette for social media, right? You know,
Life.
like what is okay and what's not okay, because people don't know what they don't know, right? And
that's
because
another
so
thing.
many people make it so okay when it's like, well,
But
you
it
know.
goes back to, you said class, but it goes back to class, status. I know you were talking about like a actual class, but
Right.
it's a class thing, it's a status thing, it's a what was your environment like, how were you raised? And I tell her that too, because she will say things to certain kids, and some of those kids will be like, you're bragging, you're cocky, like you're arrogant to her. But it's like, but that's her everyday life,
Right.
so that's truly, you know, like what it is for her. And so if she's not around people that also have similar experiences like that, that's what it's going to come off as.
Right.
Like she has a best friend. When her and her best friend are together, the world is limitless for them, whether they're with her mom or with me.
Right.
They can talk about all the things that they have, all the things that they've done, and it's not going to be a problem. But if they're talking to other kids, it's like, y'all think y'all all that.
Right.
Y'all think y'all did. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so it's like, I try to explain to Leia, like, you have to surround yourself with like-minded kids that are being raised like you, that are cheering for you, not cheering and talking about you, not talking about you behind your back, not thinking you all of that because, you know, you have a Rolex. Or this past weekend, they bought friendship rings from Pandora. They spent $100 a piece on these little friendship rings from Pandora. But I was explaining to Leia, like, that's a lot of money to just be wearing a friendship ring.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. I get it, because my kids were the same. So like
Right.
some of those things would be like where we're, for some people that life is normal. And then some people like that's a, you know, so again, the alignment plays a really huge part in like, you know, how those experiences then carry over into how are we going to be able to,
everything. Because then sometimes Leia's like, well, no, Ma, I need extra money because I want to pay for my friend to do this. Like, is her mama going to pay for her to do that? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
But no, for sure.
It's tough though. So I'm glad that you brought some of that up. And I want to get into a couple other things, but I have to ask you this because you have the break room.
Yes.
Tell the shifters about the break room, because I feel like these are the kind of topics that they be talking about.
Yes.
The break room.
Yes. The break room is where we keep it real about motherhood. So myself and my partner, Giovanni, started the break room. She's a stay-at-home mom, also entrepreneur. I'm a single mom, entrepreneur. And sometimes it's just like we need a break. We need an outlet, right?
Yeah.
So the break room is a safe place in order for us to do that. Like, to keep it all the way real.
Yeah. So how often do you have, is it a weekly group, a monthly group? How do you guys do that?
So it's a monthly group.
Okay.
We're going to be doing like another rollout. So you'll be seeing a lot of different content coming soon, but it's a monthly meetup, and then everything else is just through the content. And then we're working on our first annual event. So I'm excited about that.
Yes.
And, yeah, but it's going to give just tips, tools, resources on parenting, whether it's from scheduling, whether it's just, you know, just ideas or just different things.
Right.
From the full spectrum.
Yeah.
From
and
raising your kids, balancing, scheduling, even down to like packing lunch, like just everything that can help make motherhood easier.
Right. I love that. And I love that because I feel like in this day and age, you guys need something like that, because there is no, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially with the social media,
you have a new high schooler about to be, you know, like it's a good thing to have so that you guys can have these conversations and be able to share with other people, because I'm sure other people are very interested, very like, oh my God, I know it was something like that. So y'all tune into the break room, because it's going to be big. I can see it now.
Yes, it is.
So changing the direction a little bit,
Yep.
I wanted to make sure we talked about real estate.
Okay.
And all the things. So I only know a little bit about the things that you do. So I know that you were a part of a really big project in Wisconsin.
Yep.
I know that you do Airbnb. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so tell us about it. Did I miss something?
No.
The real estate and the Airbnb. And you like flip houses. So I guess
Right.
that's another. Okay.
Yeah, that's another component. Yeah, you hit all of them. You did. You hit all of them. But my background is in construction and remodeling, so licensed.
Wait, now did you do is it the acre? What's
I didn't
the program?
do the acre program.
Okay.
No, I did not.
Okay.
I did not do the acre program. But Q and Michael did the acre program.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you're partners in that.
Right. So in Wisconsin, I was licensed HVAC specialist, licensed contractor, city and state.
Okay.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
HVAC specialist.
Yes, HVAC.
Okay. I like it. So do you feel like that is what, when you became licensed and all of that in that field, that helped you like, oh, I think I can do this house thing and flip and construction and all of that?
When I originally got licensed, it's because I was doing preservation and I was expanding that business, and they made me get licensed.
Okay.
Because of the work that I was doing while doing preservation. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of just fell in my lap.
Okay. So explain to the people what preservation is for those that don't know.
Yes.
As it relates to real estate.
Yep. Property preservation is the preservation and maintaining of homes that are vacant. So it could be, or just not being kept, because sometimes you have squatters, you have people living in some of the houses, but they're just not being maintained. So when the house goes back to the bank is responsible. So people think like, oh, the bank want to foreclose, they're not trying to help me out. No, they spend so much money. When people foreclose, they have to pay attorneys, they have to pay us to cut the grass, they have to pay us to change the locks, they have to pay us to winterize, they have to pay us to do board ups, because the city,
And all of that falls under preservation.
all of that falls under preservation.
Okay.
Winterizing everything, snow removal, trash clean outs, roof repairs, anything that compromises the integrity of the home and could cause it to lose value, or
Okay.
or that could be fines from the city that they'll acquire. Because if your grass is not cut, you get a fine. If,
Right.
All of that stuff. So that will all fall on the bank.
Okay. So when you have done preservation, then how did you is that how you transitioned into flipping, or is it all kind of?
No, that's how I transitioned into flipping. So at the time, I was engaged, and my ex-fiance was heavy into flipping, but it all kind of happened together. And so then, so from there, it just kind of rolled into one another. And before you know it, he was already flipping houses, but then I started flipping houses, and then it just grew from there.
Okay.
And then with the development project, Q and I had worked together on some other things like workshops and different things like that.
We'll say shout out to Q Alameen.
Yes. Shout out to Q. And then he's like, hey, you want to come in on this project?
Okay.
Because I have the construction background. I'm like, yeah. And I wanted to get into commercial real estate too. So I just was like, let's get it done. Let's figure it out. So then him, myself, Michael, and Ray, we're all the community within the corridor.
Okay. Cool. I love that.
Yes.
So we got commercial real estate. We got flipping houses. What was the other one?
Airbnbs.
Airbnb.
Yep. And then
I remember I had a apartment, and you was like, girl, that could have been an Airbnb.
it could have. And you had to lose in a good location.
It was a great location.
Especially
so we'll
now.
talk later, honey.
Yeah.
Because
Let's do it. I'm excited.
so we can't put out where that'll be. But so tell us a little bit about like the Airbnb process, because I know you have how many Airbnbs?
4.
Okay. Am I telling too much business, y'all? You know we talking about. Okay. So you have 4 Airbnbs, all in the same state. Like what areas?
Some in Texas and the other ones are in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And they're just kind of all over.
Okay. And
Yep.
so how does give us a scenario of like once you set up the Airbnb, is it profitable? Do you feel like
Yep. So it just depends on the area. So obviously, like any investment, you have your startup costs. Same thing with Airbnb. And whether you own them or you're doing Airbnb arbitrage, it could be either or.
Okay. Now tell the people what arbitrage is, because I know what that is, but
Yeah. So
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. I hope you're enjoying the show. I need you guys to do me a huge favor. I know this is a great episode with Tia and I that you guys are watching. Can you like, subscribe, and share? You know, the red button. Click it. Okay, back to the episode.
Airbnb arbitrage is if you are renting a place and then you put it on Airbnb versus owning it, basically.
okay.
Some people do that in the form of like corporate leasing, different things like that.
Okay.
So you would pay, if you're doing arbitrage, you'd pay obviously like your first month's rent, your security, and then you have to pay to get it furnished. So
Okay.
then you get it furnished and you put it up. If you do it right and you let's just say you're probably all in like 10,000, 15,000 max, depending on what it is that you're doing and how you're furnishing it. If you're going to have a themed Airbnb or if you just want a basic, comfortable place, or if you want more of a luxurious place,
Okay.
that's going to be what you have to figure out. And then, you just put it on the platform. So there's different short-term rental platforms. There's a lot now. So like Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, Expedia. I think Marriott has one for like single family homes that are more like luxe feel. But there's tons of different platforms. There's tons of different CRMs to help you manage it. And then you just wait for your bookings.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. And so you feel like that is, because a friend of mine and I talk about mailbox money. So is that like mailbox money?
How you classify mailbox money?
Where you're not really having to do a whole lot of day-to-day things and the check is just going to come in.
It is. So, like, I have one right now that I've had the same tenant in there for almost 2 months. And her insurance is paying for it.
Okay.
So it's like, you can stay as long as you want to stay. So we haven't had to clean it. We haven't had to do, anything.
Right. Cool. I love that.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's get into a couple questions because, honey, we
Okay.
can go all day just talking about
Everything
the
else.
day-to-day. Okay. What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs who are just starting their journey on entrepreneurship?
Be consistent and have a schedule. So I think a lot of the times, especially if you're starting from a corporate space, going into an entrepreneurial space, in corporate, no matter how high up on the totem pole you are given very strict deadlines and tasks. No, you can be a CEO. You're still going to have those things.
Right.
There's going to be things that you have to do according to what they're telling you that you need to do. Entrepreneurship, nobody's going to tell you what you need to do.
Say it again.
They're not going to tell you what you need to do. You have to know what you need to do. You have to know when you need to do it. You need to be your project manager. You need to be your secretary. You need to be your own before you can allocate those tasks to somebody else. So sometimes we just are like, you know what? Let me just hire an assistant. Let me hire a secretary. Let me hire a VA.
But what you hiring them to do if you don't even know what
you don't even know? You have to know all the ins and outs. The only thing you should be hiring somebody to do, like the only thing I hired somebody to do in the beginning when I didn't have no money, is an attorney and an accountant.
Okay.
That's it. And I didn't even execute my accountant until it was time for my taxes to be done. But he was like, no, we're going to set up your QuickBooks. You're going to integrate it. And then that'll make my job easier.
Right.
I don't have to bill you hourly for like managing, you know what I mean? Because everything's in QuickBooks.
Right.
And it's merged with your bank account and everything else. So
Absolutely.
that was that. But outside of that, had to do everything myself.
I always talk about, and thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important. And I feel like I'm trying to, share that as I, share the journey and talk about shifting and all of that as it relates to entrepreneurship, that it's not like you really have to be committed to the process, right? And dedicated to making sure that you can have a set schedule. Right, because like you said, nobody's checking for you. Nobody's telling you, oh, you got to get up.
You have to create your schedule. Like I do, like individual business consulting and business development for people too, and that's one of my biggest things. They're like, well, I paid this person to do my marketing, or I paid this person to do this, but it's like you're not doing anything. How do you expect your marketing team to work if you're not doing anything?
Right.
You can pay Kylie Jenner's marketing company to do your marketing, but if you're not doing the work also, it's not gonna work.
Yeah,
it's just not.
Yeah, and I think I'm a perfect example of that, because we did some work together. You made a referral to Giovanni to me that helped with the website, and I feel like that was around the time where I really was like, I gotta really get focused on this side of business if I want to see this thing move forward, right? And see it through. And just the commitment to social media and posting and, having a strategy and themes and all of these things, like that has been, we kind of had a little quick conversation about that a little earlier. Like, it is really work. So I don't want people to think like, oh, it's all, what they call it in daisies, because it's not. It really is dedication. And I always say discipline. Like,
it's all discipline.
Yeah, nobody is saying, like, for me, I have a set schedule, believe it or not, as an entrepreneur. Like, I have a time that I get up, meditating, working out, eating, like all of those things fall into. And if I don't do that, every now and again I get off a little track, right? We just being honest. So then when I don't do that, it's like the whole day is done, because you look up and it's like 1 o'clock and you're like, well, wait a minute,
it is gone.
I haven't did anything.
Listen, they be like, why you wake up at 4:30? But it's like, especially being in Texas now and having to get the kids and drive line.
Yeah,
like drive line. Drive line, y'all.
Listen, okay, so you said get up at 4:30. So my next question is, how do you prioritize your physical health and wellness while running a business? So you're getting up at 4:30. Tell me a little bit about that process.
Yeah, so that's been a little challenging lately. I still wake up at 4:30, but as far as prioritizing like working out and stuff like that, because like you said, if you miss something and the day gets thrown off, it really gets thrown off. So it's like, if I miss making it to my trail or my track by 8 o'clock, it's like, I might as well just not. I'm just going to toss the whole workout out. Because if I go still and then I don't get back home till 11, and then I have to do this from 11 to this, I need to be back out the house by 1:32 and transition to the drive line that I'm going to sit an hour in, maybe 2.
Ooh.
Only to get out on time, even though the kids get out at 3:40. I have to be there early in the drive line, so I'm not the last person in the drive line.
Wow.
Just to be out of the drive line by like 4:15. So it's like, then in between there, I have to cook dinner or figure out what dinner's gonna be, and then figure out, okay, we're gonna do dinner, homework, baths, and I try to do an activity with the kids every night, or just some type of interaction, even if I'm just tickling them for 10 minutes, like something where it's like we kind of bonded a little bit,
right?
Because the days are going so fast.
Okay.
Yeah. Super fast.
All right. Thank you for sharing. I don't even know nothing about the drive line, y'all, because
you don't want to know nothing about the drive. You do not.
I can just envision, because okay, I have young adult children, but I feel like I don't even know if we called it the drive line. It was just
have
the pick.
one.
Yeah.
It was just a drop off and pick up. I don't know if it's more kids.
It's probably more kids. I remember being in the line because I remember studying. Like when I was working on my master's, I remember sitting in the line. But I like drive line. Like, that's cute. I'm like, we didn't have a name for ours back then, but
Yeah, we got tags that we have to put in the window, and then they type it in, and they'll give you a thumbs up when they typed in the number. The kids are not allowed to come out of the school until the number is. They have screens inside the school where their numbers show up, and then the kids come out and they're escorted to the car.
oh, that's fancy.
It's fancy,
Important and needed. I already know because the world is just okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Next question: how do you overcome self-doubt and imposter syndrome as an entrepreneur?
That's good. That's a good question. Say it again.
How do you overcome self-doubt and imposter syndrome as an entrepreneur? Because we all have it. So
We do. Imposter syndrome, I don't know. And the reason I'm going to say I don't know is because it's this fine line of like, I don't want to say like fake it till you make it, but it's like a manifestation or it's a, no, I'm going to show up as the person that I want to be.
right.
Even though, I'm going to go to church every Sunday, even though my faith may not be holier than that, but I'm going to go because that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
I think that's a good analogy.
that one is tough because I feel like it's a fine line. Like, but I think a lot of it just goes with staying true to those core morals and values, those non-negotiables
Right.
for you. Like me going into a room full of white people, and some people call it code switching or talking more articulate. I don't feel like that's like imposter syndrome. It's just what we do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But am I going to go in that room and act like I'm not, like they can say nigga, or, you know what I mean? Like, oh no,
Right.
no, we not doing that. Am I going to go and dumb down, slavery or, no, we're not doing none of that.
Right.
So, no. So it's just a fine line. But I would say avoiding imposter syndrome is staying true to your morals, your non-negotiables, your core values, and things that you know that if you did do or whatever, it's going to like make you feel bad.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I do have a couple final questions that I always ask the guests, but I wanted to ask you because, this is the therapy room.
Okay.
If there's a question that you wanted to ask me that we can talk about before I get into my final questions.
I don't know.
So you want me to go with the questions and then if you think of something?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do that.
So first question is one piece of advice related to healing and or entrepreneurship that you can share with the shifters.
Healing and entrepreneurship. One word of advice. Dedication. Like just being dedicated, like we just talked about, to those core values and your morals that you truly live by. Staying true to that, I feel like, is the word of advice. Because as long as you stay true to that and you're disciplined and you're focused, everything else will fall into line.
Okay.
And I've been there. So I'm not just speaking from, I'm speaking from experience. There's been times where I'm like, okay, well, I can just try it that way. Even though I don't agree with it or I don't like it and it's kind of shady, I'm going to just do it just to get it done.
Right.
Right. And then it ends up resurfacing somewhere later in a way uglier way.
Right.
Trying to not do what you used to doing. So it's one thing to be outside your comfort zone, but again, when it's going against what you believe is morally right, that's when stuff starts to get a little messed up.
So tapping into, thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important that people know that you have to stay true to yourself. Oh,
Because it's, especially in entrepreneurship, like it's sharks out here. I'm talking about sharks. Chew your head off. Jaws. Like,
yeah.
and so it's easy to fall victim, and it's easy to be like, nah, I'm about to get you before you get me. Mm-hmm. Not because that's the type of person who you are.
Right.
It's just the nature of business, period. Like,
And do you feel like that's even more pertinent in real estate?
oh yeah. Especially females in real estate, especially in construction, because I'm not an interior decorator. I mean, I can, but I'm not an
You can. Let me
Yes.
just say, Tia is the mastermind behind this room
Yes, we redid
and
it.
all the things we redid it earlier this year. So
But it's like, I'm not an interior decorator. I'm not a leasing agent. I'm not a real estate agent. All the things that you associate with real estate for women.
right.
You know, I'm not a florist. I'm not, I don't do, like, none of those things. Like, no. I'm in the trenches with the guys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they're shady. Like, construction is shady. There's no way around it.
So how do you feel like you've navigated that?
Going back to staying true to those morals, but then just standing 10 toes down and really making it clear, like, I don't care if I'm African American. I don't care if I'm a woman. We can go toe to toe.
I earned to be here.
Exactly.
The spot.
I earned my stripes.
You did. Okay, next question. If you could host a dinner with 1 to 3 people, dead or alive, who and what one question would you ask them?
Oprah,
Ask them. Mm-hmm. Okay, Oprah,
Rosa Parks,
Rosa Parks,
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Same question, or what are you asking?
I would probably ask all of them. I don't know. I would have so many questions, but I would probably ask them all the same question at some point and just be like, how did you stay true to yourself?
Mm-hmm. I like it.
How did you not allow fear to overcome what you were trying to do? Because it's scary. Entrepreneurship is scary.
Yeah.
Being in those spaces are scary. Being brave is scary.
Mm-hmm. And I think it comes down to believing in self. Right. And when I look back at like all the different things that I've done, I did it. Right. Mm-hmm. And when I look at how I got to do them, I figured it out. You know what I'm saying?
Let me find it.
Okay. And then I have one other question. You want me to do my last question while you find it?
No, it says,
okay.
Where did it go? I went to Lakewood Church, had like a women's thing recently.
Okay.
And we went, but one of the things that just struck a nerve was that I have more faith in my fears coming true. Right? So that makes me think about that question, because it's like, I can believe in me all day long, but these people not only believed in themselves, they believed that they had faith, right? I'm one of those people. I can tell you all of my fears or all of the things that I know are gonna that I know are gonna happen that are negative, just because I have faith in those things happening. But influencing other people to walk this journey with me and support me and to encourage me at the capacity that they've all done, how do you do that? Because you got to believe in you and believe that they're going to believe in you, no matter what stories are circulating through the world or what is how you're being attacked.
Yeah.
That's a different level.
Mm-hmm. I know I've heard Oprah kind of speak to just being able to, in all the things that she's done, it always goes back to her own belief in self, right? Mm-hmm. And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for whatever it is that we're supposed to be doing. So I think for me, staying in practice, right? Like, I'm going to be working on myself, wanting to be better, giving to the community, supporting people, right? giving off what I would like to receive back, but I'm also okay if I don't receive it back because I know what the plans are for me. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, you know.
Yeah.
So, okay. Last question. What's one piece of wisdom or mantra that you live by that you can share with the shifters?
I feel like I have so many. We do affirmations every day. Every day. But I do say, like, you're not average. I say that a lot because, one, I truly believe that I'm not average. And two, I think because it sets the bar. Anybody that's taking the step into entrepreneurship in general, they're not average.
Right.
They're not. You're not average. So don't sell yourself short. And you have to continue to tell yourself that, because the way that you think as an entrepreneur or as somebody who's taking those different leaps of faith and betting on yourself,
Right.
the average person doesn't do that. So you're not average. You don't think like them. You don't process information the way that they do.
Right.
You're not shifting the way that they are shifting.
Say it.
Period.
Period.
So it's like, I say that a lot. Like, I have to tell myself, you're not average. You are not average. So if I'm thinking average or reacting average, which I do, but I have to tell myself, like, see, you shouldn't have did that. You're not average. Like,
Right.
You're not. So
I love
responding
that.
that way is not okay.
That's the mantra for today, y'all. Shifters. You're not average.
You're not average.
Remember, the shift is happening now.
It is.
Thank you for tuning in to Shift Chats. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Remember, every shift starts with one single step, so keep making moves. Till next time, stay focused, stay empowered, and keep shifting. Remember, the shift is happening now.